If you've followed Apple at all, you've probably heard the old cliche that it does things better instead of doing them first. Nowhere is that more obvious than in the iPhone X announced today, which is easily the most exciting iPhone in years, thanks to a bunch of features that aren't really new. But I'm not here to bash Apple. We're not only going to look at where these features came from, we're going to explore how Apple will probably improve them. I'm MrMobile, and these are my iPhone X first impressions, brought to you by dbrand. Number 5. Wireless charging. It's been in some phones since 2009, but it's a feature you probably don't care much about because, well, it's never been popular enough to really take off. Even with companies like Samsung doubling down on wireless charging, it's rare to see it in action, with the exception of some Starbucks locations and the occasional airport lounge here in the US. Well, now, with Apple's adoption of it, nearly half of the US smartphone market suddenly has a reason to care. And in a refreshingly open move, the company is using Qi, a widely used standard, instead of something proprietary and locked down. That means you'll be able to use any of the Qi-certified chargers that have been around for years to top up your new iPhone 8 or iPhone X, and you should see more popping up in public as time goes on. Of course, Apple has built its own charger launching next year, which is called AirPower, and which will be able to charge more than one device at a time, just like Duracell did back in the day. It doesn't solve the convenience challenges of slower charging and the awkwardness of not being able to pick up your phone while it's charging, but if you can imagine a future with wireless charging stations everywhere, well, you can start to see how convenient that could make little top-ups. And that future is a lot closer now that Apple's in the game. Number 4. Unlocking your phone with your face. Android has had this since 2011. You look at your phone, it recognizes your face, and it unlocks. But that was a janky, easy-to-fool feature. And even today, your phone will warn you that it's not as secure as a fingerprint or a PIN. Microsoft and Samsung greatly improved on this approach with iris scanners in recent years, but it's still slower than a fingerprint scan. And because it relies on infrared cameras, it has trouble in direct sunlight. So I didn't expect Apple to do what the rumors suggested, but holy cook, it did! For the iPhone X, Apple ditched Touch ID for Face ID. How this will play out in the real world remains to be seen. It's entirely possible this will prove just as inconsistent as Samsung's approach can sometimes be, but Apple is throwing much more technology at the problem. Packed into the iPhone X is an IR camera, a flood illuminator, a conventional front camera, and a projector that shoots 30,000 dots across your face for texture mapping that Apple says is smart enough to tell the difference between you and not just a photo, but a 3D scanned custom mask of your face. Now, keep in mind, the last time Apple ditched a major feature, it led to real inconvenience for folks who relied on a headphone jack in their phones. But to me, this is different because the company has poured tons of R&D into making Face ID the new Touch ID, and it's betting its reputation on its success. You can expect Samsung and other manufacturers to up their game when it comes to face scanning for their next generation phones, so I'm calling this a win for everyone, regardless. Number 3. Dual cameras with fancy features. Squeezing two main cameras into a phone is nothing new. Even dual optical stabilization is not a first. But the iPhone X does bring two features I don't think I've seen on any phone I've tested. Not only can you shoot at 4K resolution, but you can do so at 60 frames a second. If you do a lot of walking video or panning across vistas, those 30 extra frames every second will make a lot of difference in terms of smoothness. And if you really want to slow things down, you can shoot at 240 frames per second to capture fast action. Now, other phones can match that frame rate, but most of them limit you to 720p. The iPhone X can shoot that fast at full HD. Sure, it's no Sony Premium with its insanely high frame rates, but it's more than enough for most folks. Oh, and if you missed that Sony video I did this summer, little plug, check it out at the MrMobile on YouTube, and subscribe. Thanks. Number 2. AR. Apple kind of got on my nerves by saying these new iPhones are the first smartphones ever designed for augmented reality. I mean, they're not. I used one last winter to test out Google Tango, and another AR-compatible phone has launched since then. But ARKit on the iPhone X is exciting largely for the same reason wireless charging on the iPhone X is exciting. Apple is popular, so developers are very likely to build cool stuff for it. The game demos at the Apple event were really compelling. I mean, I don't care at all about baseball, and even I think it would be cool to hold up my phone at a ballpark and have the players' info projected above their heads. Thankfully, we're already starting to see some changes from Google in the form of AR Core, and hopefully the excitement over Apple's ARKit can rapidly further that development. Number 1. Gesture control. Man, 2009's Palm Pre is the gift that keeps on giving to smartphone makers. That WebOS software was so fluidly designed that it didn't feel like you were using it so much as dancing with it. Ugh, I know. Gag me, the sentimental nerd is getting mawkish again, but it's true. BlackBerry stole from it, Google took some inspiration from it, and now Apple gets in on the fun. Mark my words, once you get used to swiping, up to go home and over to multitask, you'll wonder how you ever settled for stabbing little buttons like a trained lab rat. Soon, that home key will look as archaic as physical QWERTY keyboards did after the first iPhone launch. Never you mind that I still like them, just let me make my point. Gestures are an elegant way to interact with software, and I'm so excited to try it out that I'm almost ready to forgive Apple for keeping us chained to that dumb preschool grid of apps as the home screen. Number bonus, the new Apple Watch. Okay, I'm cheating a little bit as this isn't directly related to the iPhone X, but it is the best smartwatch for it. And now, it's got a cellular radio, so it doesn't need to be tethered to a phone to work. This is one of the oldest technologies that Apple sort of invented on stage today. I saw my first cell phone watch in like 2008, and they've been small enough not to seem ridiculous for about 2 years now. But the Apple Watch Series 3 is the same size as last year's. That's quite a bit smaller than Samsung's Gear S3 or the LG Watch Sport that I wear every day. And Apple got to show off its engineering prowess by describing how, rather than shoehorning in another antenna, which apparently they couldn't do, they instead made the display itself another antenna. That's pretty awesome. Personally, an Apple Watch isn't my first choice in terms of a fashion accessory, but again, its rising popularity means that we can expect even better things from all smartwatches, as competitors clamor to compete. Even as an Android user, I'm pretty jazzed to get my fingers on the iPhone X, and as the early hands-ons come in from Cupertino, it seems clear that those fingers are gonna leave some marks. Pre-orders for the iPhone X open in October, but pre-orders for the custom D-brand skins are open right now. Hit the link in the description to secure yours in whatever color combo your Apple-loving heart desires. And let me know what you think of the iPhone X, or the iPhone 8, or anything else from today's launch in the comments. Until next time, thanks for watching, and stay mobile, my friends.